Welcome to Poll 242 Act in 2013's report on the effects of gender and income on preference for Prime Minister in Canada. In our research, we determined Prime Minister preference by analyzing the results of Forum Research's August 2013 survey. Specifically, question 5 asking which of the 4 federal party leaders would make the best Prime Minister.
We begin with a univariate frequency analysis of the dependent variable indicator. First, we remove 2 values from the table, value number 5, those who responded that they do not know, and value number 6, those who did not respond at all, because those values were not educational for the purposes of analyzing the association between our dependent and independent variable. After the missing values were removed, there remained 993 total responses, of which 27.4% preferred Conservative Party leader Stephen Harper, 32.5% preferred Liberal Party leader Justin Trudeau, 16% preferred New Democratic Party leader Tom Mulcair, and just 7.7% preferred Elizabeth May, the leader of the Green Party.
We hypothesized that women are more likely to associate with left-leaning policies. We expected this result because women are more likely than men to prefer left-leaning policies because of their concern for social equity, and would ergo prefer left-leaning candidates such as Tom Mulcair and Elizabeth May. As Engelhardt and Norris noted in the developmental theory of the gender gap, women's and men's voting behavior in global perspective, the modern gender gap with women more left-wing than men is evident in each wave of the United States, consolidates over time in the Netherlands, and emerges by the 1990s in Canada and West Germany.
We hypothesized that the income background of respondents would have no relation to their preferred candidate for Prime Minister. We considered the null hypothesis educational enough to prove because it runs contrary to the popular assumption that economic class has a strong influence on one's position on the left-right political spectrum in Western democracies. Erickson performed a survey in 1981 to gauge Canadian respondents' knowledge of different political parties' policies toward different income classes, and whether they in fact voted according to their class. They did so in only a statistically insignificant portion of cases.
Our cross-tabulation of gender and preferred Prime Minister candidate shows that while 34.7% of men prefer Stephen Harper, 31.1% of women prefer him. 34.5% of men and 42.8% of women prefer Justin Trudeau. 21.6% of men compared to 16.9% of women would prefer Tom Mulcair, and only 9.1% of men and 9.2% of women prefer Elizabeth May. This cross-tabulation showed a Kramer's V of 0.09113, which shows a very small, insignificant correlation.
Our cross-tabulation of income background and preferred Prime Minister candidate shows that there is little association between the two variables, with percentages varying widely throughout the table. This cross-tabulation showed a Kramer's V of 0.10618, indicating a statistically limited relationship far below the desirable range of 0.2 to 0.4.
Our findings show that there is a very weak association between gender and the preferred candidate for Prime Minister. This goes against our original hypothesis and the literature found on the correlation between political association and gender.
As for the relationship between income and preferred Prime Minister candidate, our findings show that there is little statistical correlation between the two variables. This corroborates with our original hypothesis and with Erickson's thesis on the relationship between income and political association.
Originally, we expected that women would naturally lean towards left-wing parties, which would be indicative in their preferred political candidates. But our findings show that our hypothesis was incorrect, and there is a weak relationship between gender and preferred candidate. As a result, future researchers may want to look into why there is a weak association, as our findings have indicated.
With regards to our second independent variable, income background of respondents, future researchers should mimic Erickson's study and observe contemporary results. Erickson did her study in 1981, so it is by now quite dated. It would be worth performing the same survey she did in order to see if the reasons for the lack of association between economic class and political preferences remain the same today.